The colony had been quiet for years, the distant stars a constant reminder of how far from home they truly were. Most days were filled with routine, repairs on the habitat domes, daily supplies, and the low hum of energy shields keeping the settlement alive. But that morning, something changed. A sharp signal cut through the calm, a pulse unlike anything the sensors had recorded before. At first, it was dismissed as interference, a glitch in the long-range scanners. Then it appeared on the main display, a vessel, drifting slowly into the colony's sector, unlike any human craft. Its design was elegant, almost alive, with flowing shapes and soft glows, unlike the rigid structures of human ships. The colonists watched in silence, fear and awe mingling in their eyes. Among them, Commander Ryland squinted at the readings, heart thudding. "That's not ours," he said, voice barely above a whisper. The sensors confirmed it, a life-form signature aboard the vessel, a complex, hybrid energy reading, something that suggested intelligence, purpose, and intention. Ryland called the team to the observation deck. Through the reinforced glass, the ship seemed to move with intent, floating gracefully as if it knew exactly where it wanted to be. And then the signal intensified, a soft, melodic vibration that resonated through the metal floors. It was not aggressive, but it demanded attention. It whispered a promise of something unknown, something powerful. On the vessel's surface, a figure emerged. She was tall, her features foreign yet almost human, eyes reflecting the light of the colony's sun with a strange, otherworldly glow. The child she carried swayed gently against her chest, small and fragile, yet undeniably alive. Her gaze scanned the settlement, calculating and cautious, aware of every movement below. The sensors registered the child's presence as well, a curious mix of alien energy and human signature. Ryland's stomach tightened. The questions were immediate and overwhelming. Who is she? Why has she returned? And who is that child? The colony scrambled ships and personnel, moving cautiously toward the vessel. Communication attempts were met with silence. The alien woman did not respond to standard hails. Yet there was no aggression, no warning fire, only a steady presence that demanded observation, attention, and respect. The crowd below watched as a single docking mechanism extended from the ship, a gesture of invitation or perhaps challenge. The colony's automated systems locked onto the docking, and a careful party prepared to receive the visitor. Every movement was tense, every breath held in anticipation. Ryland moved closer to the main viewport, unable to tear his eyes away. The alien woman had stepped onto the docking platform now, her every motion calm, deliberate. The child in her arms shifted, reaching out, small fingers brushing the air. The colony's sensors flickered, an anomaly, something that made even the advanced technology stutter. It was a living being, but different, extraordinary. Some of the colonists whispered of legends, old stories of beings returning from the void with purpose, bringing change, danger, or revelation. Ryland did not speak. Words felt inadequate. His pulse raced as the alien woman's gaze seemed to meet his from afar, acknowledging him in a way that felt both personal and unsettling. She stepped down onto the colony platform, her presence commanding attention. No words were exchanged, but the sheer force of her aura silenced the crowd. The child in her arms blinked, small eyes shining with a strange light, innocent yet profound. Ryland could feel the tension in the air, a mixture of fear, curiosity, and wonder. The colony's security forces moved cautiously, weapons ready, yet restrained. Every second stretched endlessly, each heartbeat echoing the uncertainty of what was about to unfold. The alien woman paused, letting the small child look around, then slowly lowered herself to the ground. There was an unmistakable message in her posture, a plea, a declaration, an unspoken truth that something important had begun. Ryland stepped forward cautiously, trying to keep his movements calm, non-threatening. Who are you?" he asked, voice steady despite the whirlwind of thoughts inside him. She did not answer immediately. Instead, she held up the child, eyes meeting his with intensity. The child's energy signature pulsed gently, rhythmic and alive, like a heartbeat in the quiet tension of the colony. A hush fell over everyone as realization began to seep in. The child was not just an alien, not just human. There was something unique here, something that no one could fully understand yet. Questions surged through Ryland's mind. Why this child? Why now? And why did she seek him, as if he alone could answer some hidden call? The air seemed to vibrate with the possibilities, the weight of secrets carried across the void and now standing before them. For a moment, time felt suspended. The alien woman, the child, the colony, and Ryland, all locked in a tableau of anticipation. The first step had been made, the signal received, and the unknown had arrived. The colony could no longer pretend normalcy, could no longer remain in routine. A new chapter had begun, filled with suspense, danger, and the fragile hope of discovery. Ryland knew one truth above all: this was only the beginning. The alien woman had returned for a reason, and the child held a secret that could change everything. But the full story was still hidden, cloaked in mystery, waiting to unfold. And as the colony watched, the alien woman took that next careful step forward, carrying the weight of the years, the unknown, and a future that only she and the child could define. The signal had been received. The arrival had happened. And somewhere in the depths of space and the hearts of those present, the first spark of an extraordinary story had begun. Ryland could not sleep. The alien vessel's arrival had unsettled the colony in a way nothing else had in years. Even now, hours after the initial landing, his mind replayed the scene, the woman, the child, the pulse of energy that seemed to radiate from them both. Something about the child felt familiar, though he could not place it. And the way the alien had looked at him, as if she knew him, as if she had been waiting, he could not shake the feeling that this was no random visit. The morning brought movement. The alien woman and her child had been escorted to a secure observation area, guarded but unharmed. Ryland, curiosity and duty battling inside him, made his way to the facility, needing answers, needing to understand why the colony had been thrust into this impossible situation. Security officers whispered among themselves as he passed, keeping a cautious distance. The child clung to the woman, small eyes wide, observing everything with an intelligence that seemed far beyond her years. Ryland felt a shiver run down his spine. That gaze, so young and innocent, carried weight of purpose, weight of knowledge, weight of something human and alien intertwined. He approached the observation chamber carefully, pausing before the transparent wall. The alien woman turned, her eyes meeting his. A jolt of recognition, or was it something deeper, hit him. He stepped closer. "I'm Commander Ryland," he said cautiously. I want to understand. Why are you here? And who is this child?" The alien woman did not answer immediately. She tilted her head slightly, as though weighing his intent, judging whether he could be trusted. The child shifted in her arms, small fingers brushing her shoulder, observing him with a piercing curiosity. Then, in a voice soft but melodic, the alien spoke. "I have returned for him. He does not yet know why. The child carries what must be protected, and only he can understand its meaning." Ryland blinked, caught between confusion and disbelief. The words made no sense, yet the tone carried undeniable sincerity. Something extraordinary had returned with her, something connected to him in ways he could not yet comprehend. His pulse quickened. You mean me?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. "I don't understand. I've never met you, or this child, before." The alien woman's gaze did not waver. "You have met in ways your mind cannot recall. Time and distance have separated you, but destiny has brought you here again. The child is the link. Protect her, and you will begin to understand." Ryland felt a chill. The child's energy signature, detected by the colony sensors, now made sense in a different way. She was extraordinary, a being caught between worlds. And for some reason, the alien woman trusted him to know what to do, to act. He swallowed hard, trying to process everything, the weight of responsibility pressing against him. Security officers murmured behind him, uneasy with the tension radiating from the chamber. Yet he ignored them. His focus was solely on the alien woman and the child. There was something in her presence, something he could not explain, a magnetic pull that demanded attention, demanded action. The colony's routine, their comfortable schedules, all faded in significance. This encounter was bigger, something far beyond ordinary comprehension. The stakes were unclear, but the urgency was undeniable. Suddenly, the child reached out, small hand pressing against the glass. A pulse of energy radiated from her, subtle yet powerful, and Rylan felt it like a vibration through his chest. He stumbled slightly, caught off guard by the sensation. The woman's eyes flicked to him, calm but intense. "She tests you," the alien said softly. "She knows. She needs to know if you are ready." Rylan looked down at the child, feeling an unexplainable bond forming, a connection that went beyond logic. The questions multiplied. Why had she returned? Why with the child? And why now, after all these years? He took a deep breath and stepped closer to the glass. "I don't understand your purpose," he admitted, voice low, almost a whisper. "But if you need my help, I'll do whatever I can." The alien woman inclined her head slightly, an acknowledgement, a gesture of trust that sent a shiver through him. The child's eyes glimmered, the faintest spark of recognition crossing her features. It was subtle, but it was there. A confirmation that he had taken the first step toward understanding, toward the responsibility that had been thrust upon him. The tension in the room was electric, every observer holding their breath. Outside, the colony went about its routine, unaware that their world had changed irreversibly in a single moment. The alien vessel, once distant and mysterious, now contained beings whose presence demanded attention, courage, and protection. The human he sought, unaware of what lay ahead, had just begun to realize that nothing would ever be the same. Rylan glanced at the alien woman, then at the child, and made a decision. He would step forward into this unknown, into a situation that defied logic and expectation, because something inside him understood that this encounter, this return, was vital. He did not yet know why, but he would not hesitate when the time came to act. The child needed him, and the woman trusted him. That was enough to begin. The alien woman observed him silently, a faint smile tugging at her lips. She turned slightly, preparing to guide him further into the truth of why she had returned. The child pressed closer to her, small eyes still fixed on Rylan, as if urging him to understand and to move forward. And in that charged silence, the first real step toward understanding and danger, hope and discovery, was taken. The colony's calm routine had been shattered. The human, the alien, and the child were now bound together by purpose, mystery, and a journey that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the universe, and themselves. The signal had been answered, and the meeting had begun. But the secrets, the dangers, and the revelations still waited, just beyond the threshold of understanding, ready to unfold in ways no one could predict. The alien woman moved silently through the corridors of the colony's observation facility, the child nestled against her chest. Each step she took was deliberate, controlled, as though she were constantly measuring her surroundings, calculating risk. Rylan followed at a careful distance, heart pounding, senses alert. The tension in the air was thick, almost tangible. Every eye in the facility seemed drawn to her presence, to the subtle energy that radiated from both her and the child. It was unlike anything the colony had ever seen, something both beautiful and frightening at the same time. She paused before a reinforced chamber, gesturing for Rylan to come closer. The child squirmed slightly, reaching out with small hands, curious about the blinking lights and humming machinery around them. "She must understand her place," the woman said softly, voice melodic but firm. "She carries what must be protected. Her understanding will come in time." Rylan nodded, trying to absorb her words. It was clear that this child was no ordinary being. The colony sensors had already detected unusual energy readings, but now, seeing her up close, he could feel it in his own body, a subtle vibration, a rhythm that seemed to resonate with life itself. "Why me?" Rylan asked finally, breaking the silence. "Why bring her here? Why now?" The woman turned to him, eyes intense. "You were part of a promise long ago. The threads of fate brought us together before, though you do not remember. The child is the link between past and future, human and alien. She must be protected, and you are the one she seeks. Rylan felt a shiver run down his spine. He had always believed he understood his role in the colony, but this was beyond anything he had ever imagined. His ordinary life, his routine responsibilities, all of it seemed insignificant now compared to the weight of what lay before him. The child's small voice broke the tension, a soft coo, almost musical, echoing in the chamber. Her eyes met Rylan's, wide and unblinking, filled with a strange intelligence. He knelt slightly, heart aching at her fragility, her innocence. And yet, beneath that innocence, there was power. Something hidden, something waiting to be understood. The woman watched closely, reading every expression, every movement. She knows more than you think, the woman said. Her abilities are still forming, but they will become vital. You must learn to see what she sees, to hear what she hears. Only then will the truth be revealed. Rylan's mind raced. He had trained for crises, for emergencies, for conflicts, but this was entirely different. Here was a child who was part human, part something else, carrying a destiny he barely understood. And the woman, her connection to him was deeper than he could grasp. Questions flooded his mind. How had she survived? Why had she returned now? And what exactly was he supposed to do? Each question seemed more urgent than the last, yet the answers remained tantalizingly out of reach. The woman gestured to a holographic display, illuminating the chamber with images of distant stars, alien landscapes, and faint traces of human settlements. This is where she came from, the woman said. And this is where she will go. She carries knowledge, energy, and potential that must not fall into the wrong hands. There are those who will seek to claim her, to use her. You must be ready. Rylan's pulse quickened. Threats were one thing, but now it was clear that their lives, the child's life, and perhaps the balance of the colony itself, were at stake. The child shifted in her mother's arms, small fingers brushing Rylan's sleeve. A spark of energy pulsed through the air, subtle but undeniable, and he flinched, feeling the intensity of her presence. She senses your hesitation, the woman said softly. But she also senses courage. That is why she has returned. That is why she seeks you. The hidden truths of her existence, of your past, and of this child's future, will only become clear when you act. You cannot wait. You must choose. Rylan swallowed hard, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He had never imagined his life could intersect with something so extraordinary. And yet, standing there, facing the alien woman and the child, he knew that inaction was impossible. The stakes were too high, the mystery too profound. The threads of past, present, and future were now intertwined in a way he could barely comprehend, and the path forward demanded courage, clarity, and trust. The woman's eyes softened for a brief moment, a flicker of emotion that Rylan could not ignore. You will understand, she whispered. In time, you will see what has been hidden, and you will act with purpose. But first, you must trust her. Trust the child. And trust yourself. The child reached out again, this time pressing a tiny hand against his chest. He felt a warmth, a connection, a signal that seemed to travel through his very being. For a moment, everything else faded, the colony, the sensors, the world outside, and all that remained was the bond forming between him and this extraordinary child. Rylan nodded slowly, determination settling into his chest. He would not falter. He would not fail. The hidden truths, the mysteries of past and present, of human and alien, would be revealed in due time. For now, the task was clear. Protect the child, understand her, and prepare for the challenges that were sure to come. Outside the chamber, the colony continued its routine, unaware of the extraordinary events unfolding within. But inside, a journey had begun, a journey that would test courage, faith, and the limits of understanding. The alien woman, the child, and the human were now bound together, each step forward uncovering new secrets, new dangers, and new possibilities. The hidden truths were no longer distant or abstract. They were here, tangible, pressing, and demanding action. And Rylan, standing at the threshold of revelation, knew that everything had changed. The child had returned with purpose, and he was now a part of something far larger than himself, something that would challenge everything he thought he knew about life, loyalty, and the universe itself. The colony's quiet routine shattered almost immediately after the revelations. Reports from long-range scanners flickered insistently, showing unauthorized signals approaching from the outskirts of the sector. Ryland stood at the observation deck, watching the glowing dots converge slowly toward the settlement. The alien woman and the child were nearby, tense but composed, their presence radiating a subtle energy that seemed to contrast sharply with the impending danger. Every pulse from the approaching fleet sent vibrations through the colony's hull, a reminder that threats rarely waited for answers or understanding. The fleet was unlike anything the colony had faced before. Sleek, black ships with jagged contours moved in calculated formation, their engines humming with a predatory rhythm. Ryland's stomach tightened. Intelligence reports suggested these were part of a rogue faction, humans and aliens alike, obsessed with capturing or destroying beings with extraordinary abilities. And now, this child, so small, so seemingly vulnerable, was the target. The woman's eyes, glowing faintly, scanned the readings, analyzing every threat vector with a precision no human could match. "They will not hesitate," she said quietly. "Every moment we delay, they grow closer. You must prepare." Ryland's mind raced. Evacuation protocols were drafted in his head even as the calm in the woman's movements reminded him that panic would accomplish nothing. The child shifted in her arms, small eyes wide, sensing the tension before it had fully manifested. It was almost as if she knew the danger, understood it in a way that transcended her age. Ryland glanced at her, heart tightening. Protecting her was no longer just a responsibility, it was a mission that could cost lives, including his own. The first warning came in the form of a pulse. An energy wave rippled across the colony's perimeter, knocking out secondary sensors and sending sparks flying from control panels. Lights flickered, alarms buzzed, and a deep hum filled the hull. The rogue fleet had arrived. The ships moved methodically, scanning, probing, and preparing to strike. Ryland felt a cold edge of fear sharpen inside him, but he forced himself to remain calm. Orders had to be given, defenses had to be coordinated, and the child had to remain safe. Every second counted. The alien woman lowered the child to a protective pod designed for emergencies. "Stay here," she instructed. "Do not move. They will not harm her if I can prevent it. But you, be ready. You must act." Ryland nodded, understanding that this was no longer about observation or hesitation. Action was required. Security teams were mobilized, drones deployed, energy barriers activated. The colony's defenses were formidable, but the rogue fleet's advanced technology threatened to overwhelm them quickly. Every choice, every movement, carried the weight of survival. The first wave of attackers struck swiftly, sending shockwaves through the outer defenses. Ryland coordinated with the officers, directing energy pulses to intercept incoming projectiles while monitoring the alien woman's subtle maneuvers. She moved with fluid precision, her presence almost a force of nature, manipulating energy fields to shield herself and the child. Sparks of light danced along the walls as shields activated and deactivated, creating a chaotic ballet of survival. Ryland felt his pulse hammer in his chest, the tension nearly unbearable, but he could not falter. Not now, not with her and the child depending on him. As the battle intensified, the child's small hand pressed against the protective field, eyes closing as if sensing the turmoil. A faint glow emanated from her, subtle yet powerful, rippling through the energy shields and sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Ryland froze momentarily, realizing that the child's abilities were more than instinct. They were a force, raw and untamed, that could tip the balance. The alien woman nodded slightly, acknowledging the awakening power. "She is stronger than they know," she whispered. "But they will test her limits. You must protect her." Ryland's mind sharpened. Every maneuver, every command, every decision became critical. Drones fired in precise arcs, energy fields shifted, and the rogue ships adapted. The colony's defenses were pushed to their limits, yet the coordination between human ingenuity and alien intuition created a fragile balance. The child, calm despite the chaos, radiated a quiet determination, an almost imperceptible signal of hope amidst the overwhelming threat. Hours seemed to stretch into eternity as the battle raged. The alien woman moved with the grace of someone accustomed to danger, shielding the child while simultaneously guiding Rylan through strategic choices. Each decision mattered. Each moment could be the difference between survival and catastrophe. Finally, after what felt like an unending wave of attacks, the rogue fleet faltered, disrupted by coordinated countermeasures and the unexpected force radiating from the child. Their ships withdrew, retreating into the darkness of space, leaving the colony battered but standing. Rylan sank into a chair, heart racing, sweat cooling on his brow. The alien woman lowered the child from the pod, holding her close. Her eyes met his, and for a brief moment, the chaos of the past hours was replaced with quiet understanding. "They tested us," she said softly. "They underestimated her. But the danger is not over. Others will come. You must remain vigilant." Rylan nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. The secret threat had revealed itself, and the world was far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. Outside, the colony's lights flickered back to normal, alarms silenced, and a fragile calm settled over the settlement. Yet Rylan knew that the battle had only revealed a fraction of what was to come. The child's power, the woman's presence, and the unseen enemies lurking in the shadows were part of a larger story, a conflict that would challenge everything they believed about safety, loyalty, and the universe itself. The secret threat had emerged, but so had a fragile victory. The alien woman and the child had survived, and Rylan had begun to understand his role, not as a mere observer, but as a protector, a participant, and a vital part of what was unfolding. And as he gazed at the child's calm, intelligent eyes, he realized that their story had only just begun. The colony had settled into an uneasy silence. The rogue fleet had retreated, but the weight of their presence lingered like a dark shadow. Rylan walked slowly through the corridors, each step measured, his mind still buzzing with the events of the past hours. The alien woman moved beside him, calm and purposeful, her eyes scanning the environment as if she could anticipate every threat before it appeared. The child clung to her, small and fragile, yet emanating a quiet strength that made Rylan's chest tighten. Every step they took seemed to carry significance, as if the walls themselves held the memory of what had just occurred. Finally, they reached a secure chamber, one set aside for revelations, for truths that could not be shared openly. The woman placed the child gently on a raised platform, allowing her to stand, her small eyes locking onto Rylan's. "You need to understand," the woman said, her voice soft but commanding. "The time has come to reveal the full truth. There is no longer room for hesitation, for half-knowledge. The child, your child, is part of a legacy you cannot yet grasp." Rylan froze, every fiber of his being alert. "My child?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. The alien woman nodded, eyes steady. "Yes. The child you see before you is the result of choices made long ago, of events that separated us for reasons beyond your memory. She is part human, part alien, a bridge between worlds. And she carries abilities that some will seek to control, to exploit. That is why I returned. That is why she came to you." The words hung in the air like a weight, pressing down on Rylan's chest. The child looked at him, small features serious, wise beyond her years. He could see it now, the subtle glow, the pulse of energy, the intelligence that far exceeded her apparent age. And yet, despite the mystery, despite the danger, there was an undeniable connection. Something deep and primal stirred within him, a sense of recognition, responsibility, and an instinct to protect. Suddenly, alarms blared. The rogue faction, despite their retreat, had not given up. Scouts, smaller vessels, approached quickly, intent on capturing the child and the alien woman. The woman's eyes narrowed, her entire body radiating controlled energy, prepared to defend. Rylan's hand hovered near the controls, adrenaline surging through him. "We have to move," he said firmly. "We cannot let them take her." The woman stepped closer to him, placing a hand lightly on his shoulder. "No," she said calmly. "Before we move, you must understand fully. Only then will you act with purpose. The confrontation is not just physical, it is a test of resolve, of trust, and of understanding. You cannot protect her without knowing who she is and what she represents. Rylan nodded, swallowing hard. His life, the child's life, and perhaps the fate of many others depended on the clarity of this moment. She spoke slowly, detailing the events that had led to their separation years ago. An unexpected attack on the colony where Rylan had been stationed, a desperate escape through a hidden gateway, and the child's birth in a distant system far beyond human reach. Every detail revealed a layer of complexity he had never imagined, a web of choices, sacrifices, and destinies intertwined. As he listened, Rylan felt the weight of guilt, wonder, and awe pressing down on him simultaneously. The child was not just extraordinary, she was a symbol, a living testament to courage, survival, and the impossible bond between human and alien life. The first shots hit the outer shields as the rogue scouts approached. Rylan glanced at the woman and the child. Now was the time to act, yet the revelation had changed everything. He no longer moved out of mere duty or instinct, he acted with understanding. Together, they moved toward the escape craft, a small, agile vessel capable of outrunning and outmaneuvering attackers. The child's energy pulsed softly, harmonizing with the ship systems, creating a protective shield that seemed almost alive. Rylan marveled at the sight, realizing that their survival depended on more than technology, it depended on trust, courage, and unity. The alien woman and Rylan coordinated perfectly, each anticipating the other's moves, each action a reflection of their shared understanding. As the scouts closed in, Rylan piloted the ship with precise maneuvers, while the woman projected energy barriers that repelled the attackers' weapons. The child, small yet central to the defense, radiated a subtle but undeniable force, amplifying their efforts in ways he could not fully comprehend. Every pulse, every motion, every decision was a dance of survival, revelation, and courage. Finally, the last of the scouts were pushed back, retreating into the void, leaving the colony and their small craft intact. Rylan exhaled deeply, his heart still racing. The woman turned to him, eyes steady and calm. "You see now," she said. "You understand what must be done. You cannot hesitate, and you cannot doubt. The child is the future, and you are part of that future." He looked at the child, small yet radiant with power and intelligence, and nodded. The confrontation had tested them, pushed them to their limits, and revealed truths that had remained hidden for years. But now, with understanding and purpose, they were ready for the challenges ahead. The rogue faction might return, others might seek to exploit the child's abilities, but Rylan knew one thing with certainty. He would stand beside them, protect them, and act with clarity, courage, and conviction. As the small vessel lifted from the colony, heading into the depths of space, Rylan, the alien woman, and the child prepared for what lay ahead. The revelation had been harsh, the confrontation dangerous, but it had forged a bond that could not be broken. Together, they would navigate the unknown, face threats beyond imagination, and uncover mysteries that spanned both human and alien realms. The universe had tested them, but they had endured. And as stars stretched into streaks of light around their craft, Rylan understood that this was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about life, loyalty, and destiny. The confrontation had ended, but the story, the true story, was just beginning. The small vessel glided through the endless black of space, stars streaking past like shards of light. Inside, the atmosphere was thick with both relief and tension. The alien woman held the child close, her glowing eyes scanning the readouts of the ship, while Rylan manned the controls, every movement precise yet cautious. The rogue fleet had retreated, but the universe was vast, full of threats that no single colony or ship could contain. Still, for the first time in days, there was a fragile sense of hope, a fragile sense that, together, they could face whatever came next. Rylan stole a glance at the child. She was small, almost delicate in appearance, yet there was an unmistakable aura of strength surrounding her. Her eyes met his briefly, and he felt a silent connection, a recognition that went beyond words. It was as if she understood everything, yet at the same time, she trusted him to act, to protect, to guide. The alien woman watched this exchange silently, a faint smile tugging at her lips. She has learned much already, she said softly. And you will learn more, Rylan. The path ahead will not be easy, but it is necessary. Hours passed in relative quiet, broken only by the soft hum of the vessel's engines and the occasional flicker of the child's energy signature. Rylan felt the weight of responsibility settle deeper in his chest. This was no longer just about the colony, or even survival. It was about something far greater. The child was a bridge between worlds, a being whose existence challenged understanding, whose presence demanded protection. And now, after confrontation, revelation, and struggle, Rylan finally began to grasp the enormity of what lay ahead. The alien woman led them to a secure compartment within the ship, one specially designed for the child. Soft lights illuminated the area, and gentle vibrations from the ship's systems seemed to resonate with her energy, calming and stabilizing her powers. She must rest, the woman said. Her abilities, her awareness, they are growing. She must learn to control them, or the consequences could be dangerous. Rylan nodded, watching as the child curled into a small ball, eyes closing briefly, but still alert, still sensing everything. There was a fragility to her, but also a resilience that was undeniable. Rylan turned to the woman. "Why me?" he asked quietly. "Why did she come to me? I don't understand how I could be part of all this." The woman regarded him steadily. "Because you are capable," she said simply. "You have the strength to protect, the courage to act, and the wisdom to learn. She sought you because her survival, and the future she represents, requires more than instinct. It requires partnership, trust, and determination. You are all she has in this universe, besides me. That is why she came." The words settled heavily on Rylan's shoulders, but with them came clarity. He could no longer pretend to be an ordinary man, a simple commander of a remote colony. He was now a guardian, a protector, and a participant in something far larger than himself. Every decision he had made, every action he had taken over the past days, had led to this moment. And the moment demanded more than understanding. It demanded commitment. As the vessel continued its journey, sensors detected a small, faint signal ahead, another ship, but this one different. It was not hostile, not aggressive. Its design was unfamiliar, sleek, and almost organic, but there was an aura of intelligence and purpose. The alien woman's eyes glowed softly. "Allies," she whispered. "They have come to guide us. The next stage begins now." Rylan felt a mixture of relief and apprehension. Allies meant hope, yes, but also responsibility. The universe they were navigating was vast, full of forces they could not yet understand. Yet, as he looked at the child, her small hand brushing against his arm, he knew that they were ready. Together, they could face whatever came. Her presence, her trust, her very being, demanded action, courage, and resolve. The alien woman guided the vessel toward the approaching ship, her movements calm, deliberate, as if she had anticipated this encounter all along. Rylan followed, heart pounding with anticipation and a growing sense of purpose. The child's energy pulsed gently, as if in harmony with the new vessel, sensing safety, sensing guidance, sensing possibility. The universe had tested them, challenged them, and revealed truths that were beyond comprehension. But now, the stage was set for a new beginning. As they docked with the ally ship, Rylan felt a sense of resolution wash over him. The danger was not gone, the challenges were far from over, but for the first time, he felt that they had a path forward. Together, with the alien woman, the child, and now these new allies, they could navigate the perils ahead. They could uncover mysteries, face enemies, and protect the extraordinary being that had returned with purpose. The child looked up at Rylan and smiled faintly, a small gesture that carried profound meaning. In that smile, he understood her trust, her recognition, and the bond that had formed between them. He nodded to her, silently promising that he would protect her, guide her, and stand beside her, no matter what lay ahead. And as the stars stretched endlessly around them, the vessel carrying them into the unknown, Rylan felt a surge of hope. The trials, the revelations, the battles, they had led to this moment. A new beginning had arrived, fragile, uncertain, and filled with possibility. But they were ready. Together, they would face whatever the universe had in store. The journey was far from over, but the bond they had forged, the trust they shared, and the courage they carried would guide them through every challenge, every mystery, and every threat yet to come. The past had been revealed, the present had been tested, and the future stretched before them, vast, mysterious, and full of potential. And as the vessel moved steadily into the stars, Rylan, the alien woman, and the child knew one thing for certain. They were no longer ordinary, no longer bound by fear or hesitation. They were the guardians of something extraordinary, and the universe itself was about to witness their journey.